In the relentless silence of 20th century South Africa, one name resonated like a beacon of hope: Nelson Mandela. This is a profound and touching account of the life of a man whose fight for freedom forever changed the course of history.
Nelson Rolihlahla Mandela was born on July 18, 1918, in Mvezo, a small village in the Transkei. From a young age, he stood out for his intelligence and determination. His education was an arduous journey, marked by racial discrimination but also by the unwavering support of his mother and the wisdom of the elders in his community. He studied law at the University of Fort Hare and the University of Witwatersrand, where he became actively involved in the fight against apartheid.
In the 1940s, Mandela joined the African National Congress, or ANC, an organization dedicated to combating the oppressive apartheid regime. He believed that nonviolent resistance was the key to liberation, but as the regime intensified its repression, Mandela and his colleagues were forced to reconsider their strategies. In 1961, he co-founded Umkhonto we Sizwe, the armed wing of the ANC, believing that armed struggle was the only remaining option to overthrow the government. But his fight for freedom was not easy.
In 1962, Mandela was arrested, and 2 years later, in 1964, he was sentenced to life imprisonment on charges of sabotage and conspiracy to overthrow the government. Names like John Vorster, then Minister of Justice, and Percy Utah, the public prosecutor, were among those responsible for his detention.
Mandela was sent to Robben Island prison, a desolate and cruel place where he would spend the next 18 of his 27 years in captivity. There, he endured inhumane conditions: tiny cells, forced labor in quarries, and severe food rationing. Despite the hardships, Mandela maintained his dignity and indomitable spirit, becoming a symbol of resistance for his fellow prisoners and the outside world. The days on Robben Island were long and exhausting. Political prisoners were subjected to forced labor in the limestone quarries, where the scorching sun and dust damaged the inmates' health. Mandela and his companions found ways to resist, turning suffering into a tool for unity and education. They held political debates, law classes, and even English lessons in the cramped cells, keeping the flame of resistance alive.
His family also suffered immensely. Winnie Mandela, his wife, faced constant persecution and harassment, while his children grew up in an environment of fear and uncertainty. Winnie became a leader in her own right, continuing the fight against apartheid outside the prison walls and inspiring many others to follow her example. However, the constant surveillance and arbitrary arrests imposed an enormous burden on her and their children, who often felt abandoned and isolated.
The anti-apartheid movement continued to gain strength both within and outside South Africa. Protests, international sanctions, and growing global pressure caused the racist regime to falter.
On February 11, 1990, after intense negotiations and unsustainable pressure, Nelson Mandela was finally released. The moment Mandela left the maximum security prison of Victor Verster was historic. With a raised fist and a serene smile, he symbolized the hope of an entire nation. From then on, Mandela led negotiations that culminated in South Africa's first multiracial elections in 1994. The journey to these elections was marked by enormous challenges. Mandela and then-President F.W. de Klerk worked together to dismantle the apartheid system, facing resistance from both sides. There was fear and uncertainty about the future, but Mandela maintained his firm and conciliatory stance. He traveled the country, speaking about the importance of peace and unity, calming tensions, and inspiring millions to believe in a better future. Against all expectations, Mandela did not seek revenge. Instead, he promoted reconciliation and forgiveness. He established the Truth and Reconciliation Commission, chaired by Archbishop Desmond Tutu, to address the crimes of the past. This generous and visionary stance prevented a civil war and laid the foundations for a more just and equal future.
Mandela was elected South Africa's first black president, governing from 1994 to 1999. His tenure was marked by policies of inclusion and development, which helped transform South Africa into one of the continent's largest economies. He prioritized education, health, and social welfare, seeking to correct past injustices and create opportunities for all South Africans. Under his leadership, South Africa adopted a new constitution, one of the most progressive in the world, guaranteeing equal rights for all citizens. Mandela worked tirelessly to build a society where whites and blacks could live together in peace and prosperity. His commitment to justice and equality inspired a new generation of leaders and reinforced the importance of human rights worldwide.
The story of Nelson Mandela is a testament to perseverance, moral strength, and the capacity to forgive. His political genius and kind heart allowed him to lead his nation with wisdom and compassion, leaving a lasting legacy of justice and humanity. Nelson Mandela taught us that even in the darkest circumstances, hope and human dignity can prevail. His life is an inspiration to all of us, an eternal reminder that true freedom can only be achieved through love and forgiveness. Mandela is living proof that even in the deepest darkness, the light of humanity can shine, guiding us to a better future. His legacy will continue to illuminate the path for generations to come, reminding us that the power of perseverance and forgiveness can truly change the world.